Hello, viewers. My name is Portia, and thank you so much for joining me on the conversation. Okay, now tell me, when did you watching the conversation? Wherever you're at, I want to welcome you, a warm welcome actually, to our studio here in New York. Today, I have an interesting conversation with you. We have a special guest here, an author, a father, a man whose heart is after God. Actually, he called himself a messenger, and he's a pastor also, and we're here to chit chat with him about his second book. He's an author. So welcome to the studios, pastor, author, messenger, Kwame Acheampong.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem, thank you. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Long day, but I'm doing fine.
Good to know. Good to know. Now, let's talk about who Pastor Acheampong is. I know you, I had a little conversation with you briefly. I know you mentioned that you're an author of 2 books. So let's talk about who you are. Who is Pastor Acheampong?
Thank you very much. I would like to say I'm a man that is after God. My greatest desire is to love Him and know Him. I'm also a father. I am obviously a husband. And also I'm a pastor of a church called Calvary Charismatic Center in New York City. And I've been exposed to church and God, and I would say since the age of 16, I stepped into church, and I've just been the kid that just likes a lot of whatever you give me. And so a lot of church, getting into the music ministry. I play the keyboard now, and so from there, just church. It's like everything about me was church. And so I guess the experiment is when you put a kid into church, something like me comes out, where you just every part of you just cries out church. And sometimes it's scary, maybe it's out of balance, but I like this out of balance.
It's good to know that your life was really evolved around the church, and this is a testimony of what happens when you raise your child in the church, by the way, people. Okay, so let's talk about you as an author, because today we're going to talk about your book. So when did you start writing or giving messages out to people?
All right, so my first book I started writing at the age of I think 18. Yeah, that was when I did my first book, and I had a friend. She's now in Texas. She's called Judith. I will go grab her, and I would just put her down, and I said, whatever I say, write it down. It's going to be a book, and then she'll be writing what I'm saying. And I think somehow she inspired me, because I said something that is just okay, and she's like, woo, that's deep. And so she was bringing stuff out of me, and then the first book came out. It was really amazing. And when I came here, I decided to now publish it, because I get an opportunity back home. I wrote it when I was in Ghana, and I came here around 1989, and I started connecting with other publishers online, and that first book came out. So I can say at the age of 18, but I published it after a few years. That was when the first book was done.
And I know the title of that book was Fashion and Faith.
Right.
What was that about?
Yes.
Briefly. I know we're not here to talk about that, but Fashion and Faith sounds very interesting and intriguing.
So it was a message to the church that we have to be careful that we don't copy blindly. And I remember the illustration I made in the book was, there's a copy and paste command online, and if you go to the world and you copy things and you paste it in the church, sometimes you run yourself into big trouble, because some things you copy, if it's an Excel sheet, I hope I'm not confusing you, but if it's an Excel sheet, what you're looking at is probably an equation. It's not just a number. Some of the Excel boxes have equations in them. So when you copy and you paste it, you create a lot of mess where you have, because what you're looking at. So the world has certain demonic things, but it just look attractive, and the church grabs it, and you bring the demon along with it into the church. So I was just telling the body of Christ, let's stick with our own culture. Let's stick with our own fashion, because we are supposed to be the light. When we look at, we're looking for the dark to give us tone or shade, which wasn't right. So I was really speaking to young people, speaking to pastors, speaking. It was a radical book. I remember my friends call it the Red Pen series, because I was really, I don't want to get into it like you said, but the pastor said that this book it's too strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad
Okay.
about it too.
So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about why you decided to write or why you decided to be a messenger in the book, what we're about to talk about today.
All right, thank
All right?
you so much.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Do not move. We are coming right back. Welcome back to the conversation. So if you're watching, you already know who's here in the studio with us. And if you're not and you're just tuning in, we have Pastor Author here with us, Pastor Kwame Acheampong. We're here to talk about his book. Now, why did you start writing?
Again, I write because I want a mode of transmission of a message I have. So I use that one of the channels or avenues to spread the gospel. So when I receive a message from God, when I develop a message and I preach it at the church, and I feel like this message must go far, then I think about, let me put this in a book, and I believe more people will need to hear it, not just my congregation.
Yeah.
So I write to spread the message so that I can reach a larger audience, pretty much.
So this book, your second book, 7 Invisible Offices That Decide Everyone's Future.
Right.
Let's talk about the book itself.
Okay.
7 Invisible Offices That Decide Everyone's Future. What is this book about?
Right. So think with me as imagine I open your eyes to see how life works, and in that way, I'm asking to picture with me as if you've gotten into a world or a movie scene or whatever you can think about, and an individual has a future plan. I'm saying that there are certain strong authorities in life that will interact with that individual, and they are going to decide if that person's future plan, and when I say person, everybody who's alive, they are going to decide your future plan. So think of it in that aspect. So I'm trying to show you that there are certain truth and things that governs how life works, but to make it easy to relate and exciting to read, I make it a form of like an individual walking through life, and there is these offices that you interact with in order to get your future plans to come to pass. So they are representing certain truths of life, but I stage it up that way so that you can be able to enjoy the reading and also help your imagination.
Okay. All right, that's good. Now, invisible offices. What is that, and why that invisible office? Why that word? Because when I think of office, I'm thinking of an office, a room, a corporate building, where it's set in where work, is being done, like it's getting done. So why the word office?
Right.
Invisible also.
Like I like that because somehow I would like the way they interact. You can imagine it as a corporate office, literally. In other words, I remember when I was teaching this at the church for my slide show, every time I hit a point, they would throw a physical office on the wall, and I call this the office. So I want you to see it like that. Invisibly, they might not operate the way we operate the office, but it's basically what I'm trying to say is that when we get there, what you're going to come out of it, they will decide it. Just like if you go to the DMV office, you are going there to get your car registered. That office can either reject or approve you. And in life, there are some of these things which I would like to call offices in a way. They somehow play like an office because they have an authority on how your future will turn out.
Okay.
So kind of like, that's how I compare it to a real office.
Yeah. So these are more like elements of life, or elements that we cannot see.
True.
But some way, somehow, in the procedure of life, as in being successful, or everyone making it in the future. These stages are more they're invisible. We don't see them,
Right.
but they do play an important role, a vital
Definitely.
role in our lives.
That's
to
right.
make our future successful.
That's right.
Now, what are some of these invisible
This
offices?
is a good question.
What are some of it?
Right. Um, I wanted to go back a little bit, but I think I can answer this one. So if I need to, I'll go back. Now, these offices are invisible, like I said, and it's more like telling somebody, "Come with me and let me open the trunk. I mean, the hood of a car for you to see how a car works, pretty much." So I'm saying to you, let me open the hood of life for you, where if you drive a car, you don't really see that, but if I pop it up, it's okay. This is the caliber. I mean, this is the engine part. This is the transmission part. These are all of the pieces that makes car move. So in the same way, these offices are hidden, but they control how life works. And so the first one, for example, is the office of the principles of life. They govern our lives. Another office is called the office of blessings and curses. They govern our life. There's another office in the book is the office of time insurance. They govern our lives. Office of office of destiny. So these are, so to speak, authorities that God has kind of put in place in life that we bounce with, but we don't know with them. Sometimes unknowingly we bounce with them. And so the book is to expose you to see that, okay, this is how this piece works. This is how this piece works. So if I fail, I could go in here and find out maybe that's a reason why.
Okay. Now, who is this book for? Who can read this book?
Like the title is for everybody.
Everybody.
Because everybody lives weaves through these things. Everybody, every breathing, walking human being is affected by.
Even if you feel like you do not have a future.
Good question. Good question. Because the prerequisite for this book, I said, is that I'm looking at every person who sits down today and say to yourself, 20 years from now, this is what I want to become. That that goal you have in front of you is like your plan or what you want to achieve. And some people don't plan. But I say that if you're not planning, you are still planning, just like you're using a plan called no plan, pretty much. And so at the end of the day, no, everybody has a future because tomorrow will come and you'll be here, and that's your future. So you can choose to do nothing, and that is kind of how your future will be. But everybody will have a span of time to live in, and the future is just a snapshot of your tomorrow. So whether you like it or tomorrow come, if God grants you the grace to be, so everybody has a future. You age. It's like you are 30, you are 40, you are 60. And it's pretty much just what I'm trying to picture. But the main thing is that you have to have a plan. At least I'm calling you to have a plan, and these officers will help whether your plan will succeed or not.
Wow, that's good.
I hope it makes sense.
It does.
All
So
right.
far, so good. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to dig deeper. We're going to dig deeper into this book, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the conversation. Welcome back to the conversation. As I promised you before we went on a break, we'll be talking a little bit more about the book itself, 7 Invisible Offices That Decides Everyone's Future. Now let's talk about these invisible offices.
Right.
Is it possible for someone, actually no, I'm not even going to ask that, just said, with the offices itself, does it have a lot of effect on one's destiny?
Definitely, because I personally didn't come up with the offices. What I can say is how this content even came to be. Giving your life to Christ, that's something to you when you do it earlier, which is you begin to walk through life through the eyes of God. And so me growing up and God teaching me how life works is how I came up with this. So what I would say is that these are God ordained, so to speak, invisible offices that God has kind of locked in place in life that we all go through them. So it's part of how God has made it. We didn't make it up, so we just play by that rules in life pretty much. So it's a God ordained set of truths that He has put in place that control human life.
Okay. So the answer was a yes.
Yes.
One's destiny can be affected
Definitely.
by these different elements.
Exactly. It will affect you.
It will.
It is 100%. If you, it's like gravity. Everybody falls at the same speed.
Okay.
So it is universal. It affects
Okay.
everybody.
Now, the question I was going to ask is it possible for someone to not succeed in all elements? Maybe, lose one or two or the other. Is it possible for one to not succeed in all elements and still be successful and have a bright future?
No.
Oh.
Because once we get into each of them, it's more of, for me, I guess the reason why I wrote the book in this way is that living in America, you know that a lot of paperwork is required to get something. So let's just say being successful is like getting your passport. They will tell you, okay, bring your birth certificate, check. Bring that check, and then when all of that is in the folder, then you are ready. So in life, it's kind of like that. These are checks that you must have. So without them, somehow you just don't succeed. So they are not. If we get to it, they are not really so out there, so to speak. They are just basically how. Or you've probably done it without even knowing that you went through that, basically. So lots of people, anybody who's successful, knowing or unknowingly went through this. But I'm the one that is kind of letting you see how it worked out. Okay. And really the message for those who are not succeeding, to look back and know what you can fix. Because sometimes life is so fast and you don't know why you failed. Yeah. And this book kind of, that's what I say, it's like opening the trunk or the hood of a car of life to show you that, okay, my car stopped because I didn't have that. My car stopped. So I'm kind of showing you the behind the scenes on how life works. But everybody who has succeeded in life passed all these without them knowing that they did. Indirectly, they did it.
They did that. Now, right. Speaking of passing through all of this, you mentioned before that, and it says in your book, the right way. Is the right way the only way? You mentioned that it is. Right. That the right way is the only way. Right. Now, what if you've figured out exactly what God has destined for you, and you believe that is what you need to do, because you mentioned in the book that in order to be successful and move on to the next element, you have to know and do what God has ordained for you to be doing and not to be outside of it. And if you know that this is what God has ordained for you, but you're accomplishing that maybe through a different way, how can that, or how can your book even help, or how can that, affect you in any way?
Great question. So, there are different ways to get a particular task done, but there's a difference between method of achieving a goal and, let me say, there's a difference between a method and also forgery. When you are forging, it's no longer a method, it's a crime. So basically, if you are not forgery and you are using a different approach, which is right. So in the land of right, there's a different ways to do it. So definitely, if you are doing it right way, then you just strategize, come up with different ways to get it done. But there's a clear difference between in the land of right playing the way you want and coming to the dark side and playing it. And I'm saying when you come this way, no matter what good your strategy is, you've broken a huge principle that no matter what. And the truth of the matter is that you can, for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, even succeed in the dark side. But there will be a time where everything will fall apart because you were in the wrong base. Because you did not take the right way. Exactly. So the right way is the only way. But on the right way, you can go fast, you can go slow, you have options.
Okay. Now you spoke a little bit about prayer in this book. This is an invisible office, also prayer. And I know that you had a section in there, how to pray, and it was very important. Praying. When do you go back to praying? I mean, or in the process of these elements, do you ever go back to praying, or do you continue with everything? Like, when do you know, like, this is the right timing?
Exactly. Good question. And again, when I stage this material, like offices, they're not really offices that are on the block where you move. They intertwine. Basically, it's not like okay, I got this. I'm gonna go to this office. It's not really
It's
like
not
that.
from 1, 2,
Yeah, they're
3,
not
4.
chronological like that. So they interact with each other. You can be in 2 offices at the same time, 3 offices at the same time, depending on what is happening to you. So pretty much, when I teach this in the church, I tell you that if anything, make the office of prayer your address. If your life is gonna go forward, you gotta be a person that visits the office of prayer a lot, because that will do a lot for you. So basically, prayer must be part of your plan if your plan is going to really succeed.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the book launching itself, that special day. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the conversation here with Pastor Kwame Acheampong with his second book, 7 Invisible Offices That Decide Everyone's Future. We were talking a little bit about it, and now we're going to talk about the launching.
Right.
I am so excited. So when is the launch?
Yeah, so it's scheduled to happen at 6 p.m. 20th of August, which is fast approaching, and it's going to be at the Ruler's Temple.
Yes.
Upper Room Assemblies of God. The address is 1074 Franklin Avenue in the Bronx, and I'm excited about it.
I am super excited also, and I cannot wait to be at 1074 Franklin Avenue, Upper Room Assemblies of God. Now, I know we have a special minister coming down.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I'm super excited. Let's talk about that. Who is coming?
Okay.
Do we want to give that up?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that then. The special
My very
artist,
own
gospel musician.
spiritual father, Pastor Joe Beecham, is coming. Wow. Yes, I'm excited.
Yes.
Yeah, really. It's going to be a great time. So he's going to spend some time praying for people and ministering to people, and then we do the book launch. So it's going to be a nice evening, and it's going to be a little bit of
everything.
Everything, pretty much, yes.
Yes. And why should people come out on this day?
Please, I really, really want you to grab a copy of the book. It's going to be a very powerful night, and I'll definitely be demonstrating the content of the book. And I want you to come out, and Pastor Joe Beecham will be there. We'll be taking pictures together. The main take-home message is that if you are with me on that launching day, I'm going to start also a teaching series on that. You get to watch it also for free, because I'll be giving some tickets out. So I want you to come out. There will be refreshment after that. It's going to be an awesome evening. See you there. God bless you.
Thank you. I will definitely see you there. Now, what should people expect?
In terms of the
this book launching,
we're going to literally demonstrate these 7 offices. I have some young people that will be doing it, and there'll be some praise dance also, and there will be a nice time with some good food and stuff.
I love food. Yum,
so it's gonna be really good.
So that's good. Then. So you're definitely going to see me and a few other people there, and we have come to an end of an awesome conversation with Pastor Kwame Acheampong, and he wants to invite you out to his book launching, his second book launching, 7 Invisible Offices That Decide Everyone's Future. Please make sure you come out on August 20th at 6 p.m. at Upper Room Assembly of God, which is the Ruler's Temple at 1074 Franklin Avenue at 6 p.m. You do not want to miss this. Please make sure you come out, support, grab a book, so your life will never be the same afterwards. Make sure you come out. We'll see you there. And we will see you next time on The Conversation. Make sure you go to watchacn.com, share the video, like, comment. We are open to hear your views and your comments about the show. We'll see you next time.